Well, people sometimes ask me in regard to the changing economic seasons, whose advice is valuable? Whose advice do I recommend? Um, whose advice should I follow in regard to changing economic trends, changing economic seasons? You tell me, all right? Should you focus on the advice of people who have a significant shared interest in your results, like profit sharing partners who make money and lose money with you, or on the advice of people who have no interest in your results, or on the advice of people who have a vested conflict of interest with you? As soon as you know the answer, then contact me to begin to receive the full benefits available from adapting wisely. If you don't know the answer yet, then just keep listening and I'll explain. Also, you may find this entertaining and wish to share it with other people. So, in particular, some people get really interested in what I mean by a conflict of interest. It means that someone else's economic interests are directly conflicting with yours. Here are some examples. You go to a car wash and ask the attendant which service to buy. Give me some advice, Mr. Attendant. Should I buy the $5 car wash or the $50 makeover, wax, massage, pedicure, and anti-rust treatment? And it's their job to sell the $50 service as much as they can. As somebody who was ready to buy the $50 service, they're going to try and sell them a $100 or a $150 service, right? So you go to an art gallery. How about this? You go to the art gallery and ask the painter, which piece do you recommend that I buy? The $500 piece or the $5,000 piece? What do you think they're going to say? You go to the car lot and you ask the sales manager which car to buy, the $5,000 used car or the $50,000 new foreign car with horrible mileage and that's super expensive to maintain and that you don't have enough money to buy. You have to finance it, but they have interest rates as low as 10% or whatever. What's the sales manager going to recommend? They're probably going to recommend one of the most expensive cars that they have on their lot if they think they can sell it to you. That's their job. You go to a realtor. You ask the realtor, should I buy the $50,000 home with cash or should I get a big mortgage and buy that $500,000 home, that $500,000 home? Mr. or Mrs. Realtor, what do you advise me to do? Well, the realtor might suggest you buy the more expensive home because that's their job. They make money off of the commission, right? Just like the car wash person, just like the sales manager at the auto shop, just like the painter at the art gallery. Now you go, oh, but what about this? You go to the insurance agent. You ask them, which annuity, which investment should I buy? Well, the insurance company promises you to pay you a set amount no matter what happens to the underlying investments. No matter what happens, no matter what happens to stock markets, no matter how well the underlying investments do, what happens to real estate markets, it's guaranteed. It's like, well, look, they're going to sell you the best one they can based on whatever their profit margin is as a salesperson, as a commission, right? So if there's a investment where that insurance agent makes a huge bonus, then they're going to have an incentive to sell it to you because that's their job. Okay. Now, I'm not going to get off on this too much right now, but consider that AIG and other huge insurance companies might be going bankrupt because of things like these contracts, these annuity contracts, where they say, we'll pay you a set amount no matter what happens to the underlying investment. That's not a very realistic promise. The insurance company promises to pay you out a certain amount no matter what happens to the underlying investment, no matter what happens to markets. That's a good way for them to go bankrupt, and that's what happened to AIG. What was that? 2008, I think, is when they tanked. Now, were there other factors in AIG's bankruptcy? Yes, like the overexposure into real estate markets. There's all sorts of issues, but these kinds of promises, oh my gosh, those kind of business practices, they could be related to the instability in some of those insurance companies, amongst others. There's lots of companies that have had a lot of instability in recent years. But let's move on to uh, what professional experts have promoted. Well, they promote whatever benefits them to sell. In a separate video, I'm going to go over the chief investment strategist of a major bank and the bank's investment wing, what he recommended in towards the end, or it was actually September of 2005, and it was really bad advice, but his job was to promote the things that were good for the bank, and he did. And 6 years later, even though his advice was horrible, which I'll go over in a few minutes with you, he's still there. He's still chief investment strategist. His job wasn't to provide accurate results that were valuable to the customers of Wells Fargo. It was to benefit Wells Fargo and the owners of Wells Fargo. He's employed by his employer to do the job that his employer hires him to do and make money for the employer. He did his job okay. 6 years later, even though his advice was extremely expensive to the people who followed it, it was extremely profitable. As far as I know, I don't really know the specifics of it, but consider that it might have been extremely profitable to that particular bank. I did mention the bank. I didn't really plan to mention it, but there it is. So let's go back to some basics of economics. How much is something worth? People wonder, do I have a $100,000 home or a $500,000 home? Well, it depends on which dollars and what time and all that, because it's the same home. You buy a home for $100,000 in 1 year, and a decade later, it sells for $500,000. Well, if you haven't really changed the home that much, what happened with all that extra increase in price? Well, this will explain it. When a farmer grows corn, someone might buy $5 of corn from the farmer directly, right? And then package that corn, divide it up into small amounts, put it in cans or whatever, put it into, TV dinners and stuff, and sell that same amount of corn for, let's say, $50. So they buy it from the farmer for $5. They sell it for $50 to some consumers. How much was that corn worth? Was it worth $5 or $500 or $50 or what? Well, to the farmer, it was worth $5. That's what he got for selling it. To the consumers who bought it, it was worth $50. And you could say to the retailer, it was also worth, $50, $45, whatever you want to call it. But it's all the same corn. The corn didn't change. It's the same corn. The price changed. However, if the car sales manager, the one who was going to sell you that $50,000 new car that you had to finance and all that, if the car sales manager or the insurance agent or the realtor or the painter or the car wash attendant could get you to pay $5,000 or $5 million for that same amount of corn, then they would be doing their job well, right? That would be a bonus for them, right? They would be, their employer would be very pleased, right? Now we're talking about some big profit margins, right? If I pay $5 for some coffee at Starbucks and some farmer in Central America would charge me 50 cents for the exact same coffee from the exact same beans that the farmer actually grew, then that farmer would probably be making a lot more profit than they are by selling the coffee to Starbucks, who then ultimately sells it for $5 at a convenient location, and all that stuff. In the nice, really nice little brown, container. That's worth like what, $4.50 or something right there. So what's the difference between the coffee that the cup of coffee that I could get for 50 cents from the farmer or $5 from Starbucks? Well, there's not actually that much difference. The $5 of corn from the farmer and the $50 of corn at a retail outlet at the roadside stand or whatever, well, they're not that different. They actually could be exactly the same, but the price could be different at the different location, and the value of the money, of the dollars, would be different to different people. To someone, they value $5 more than the corn because they have so much corn. Somebody else doesn't have much corn, maybe has a lot of money, and they'll pay $50 for that corn. So what's the difference in value between a $50 piece of art and a $5,000 piece of art? Well, $4,950 is the right answer. But the same piece of art could be sold for those two prices at different times. Let's say some painter gets famous, and after he's dead and no longer is making any additional pieces of art, that thing that cost $50 in 1950 and 1980 sells for $5,000 or whatever. Well, that, maybe they sell one piece for $5,000 in 1950, and then it's a $500,000 or $50,000 sales price for that same painting later. Well, the artwork didn't change. All that changed was the price. What really changed was how much someone valued the money that they used to buy that art. Yes, the artwork changed in terms of the value that people had for it in some cases where a painter dies or gets really famous or something. But maybe one person had more money available at a particular time, and maybe they had a brand new credit card account and they felt rich. So they're like, I'm going to spend $5,000 on this painting instead of $500. I mean, it was a $500 painting a few years ago, and now it's a $5,000 painting, so it's probably going to keep going up in value, right? Probably. Well, it might, but probably and it might aren't the same. So, it's the same piece of art, just like it's the same cup of coffee, the same amount of corn, all that stuff. Now, if I buy a home for $100,000 and a decade later, after making virtually no improvements to the home, I sell it for $500,000, $500,000. Great, that's a big unearned capital gain for me. That's awesome, $400,000. Woo, great, right? However, that change in price does not mean that the actual functional value of the home changed much, if at all. It means that the price changed. Not the home, but the price of the home. So the value of the dollars used to buy the home may have changed a lot, to some people at least, like due to expectations of continuing inflation. If inflation rates drop far enough, then expectations of future inflation may also drop. And eventually, housing prices could drop based on people changing how much they value the money. Not the house, but how much they value the money. All right, so what's the difference between a $5 cup of coffee and buying the same cup of coffee for 50 cents? $4.50. It means that the purchaser values their dollars more and the coffee less in whatever ratio. That's all. So what's the difference between paying $10 for a new DVD and then selling the exact DVD still in the wrapping at a garage sale for $1 a year later or a month later or whatever? The difference is $9. It's not in the DVD. It's not in the coffee beans. It's not in the house. It shows the difference between how much different purchasers value the DVD or whatever and the dollars at various times. What's the difference between paying $100,000 or $500,000 or $200,000 for a house? It shows the difference between how much different purchasers value the house and the dollars at various times. With housing, the dollar issue is not just about cash dollars, but mortgages or borrowed dollars, how much credit the buyer expects to be available in the entire real estate market. So if the entire real estate market is shifting, especially real estate mortgage market, the real estate lending and borrowing market, if there's a shift in lending and borrowing, that could affect prices. Now, let's quickly go back to the issue of why the insurance company would give the insurance agent a huge bonus for selling an annuity that, sounds too good to be true, because it is. Why would the insurance company give the insurance agent a huge bonus for selling that? Because selling that gives the insurance company such a huge profit, since actual practical value of the annuity contract may be so much less than the price that some consumers, some probably not very astute or sophisticated consumers, maybe a little naive, maybe a little anxious, the insurance company might know that it's not worth to them very much if they can get their insurance agents to sell it to some consumers for a lot more than it's worth to the insurance company, then they can give a big commission. They can give a big incentive, a big bonus, right? It's like owning a home and saying to a realtor, here's a home that cost exactly $100,000 to build last week. However, if you can sell it for $200,000 or even $500,000, then we, the owners, will give you a huge bonus, a commission in proportion to the amount that you sell it for. So whether the realtor sells it for $200,000 or $500,000 or does not sell it at all, that does not change the fact that the home cost exactly $100,000 to build last week. It doesn't change the fact that the farmer only got $505 for that bag of corn, does it? It's not a change to the actual thing. It's a change to the price. And whose job is it to drive up prices? The salesperson. They get commissions and incentives for selling it for more than they bought it for. Oh. So if an insurance company can get someone to pay them $100,000 for a particular policy or $1 million for that same policy, the exact same policy, does that change the value of the policy? Does that change the terms of the contract? No, it changes the price and the profit margin for the company, AIG or whoever. If I can get the exact same cup of coffee for 50 cents from a farmer or for $5 from the store around the corner, those are just differences in price. It's the same cup of coffee. There's no change in the actual cup of coffee. If I can get a brand new, perfectly good DVD from a garage sale for $1, or the exact same DVD for $10, which price would I rather pay? Well, the $1. But if I'm a salesperson and if I own the DVD and I got it and I can sell it to somebody for $10 and somebody else for $1, I'm going to sell it to the person that will buy it for $10. If I'm an insurance agent, I'm going to sell the thing that gets the big commission. If I'm a realtor, I want to sell people the expensive homes and lots of them, right? If I'm a sales manager of a car shop, I want to sell lots of high-priced cars to get big commissions and big bonuses and all that stuff. That's the deal. If I own a business, let's say I own a carpet cleaning business, I want to sell my carpet cleaning services for as much as I possibly can. Let's say it costs me $7 to provide the service plus my time. Well, I want to get $60 or at least $40 or whatever. I want to get as much as I can. It doesn't change the carpet cleaning service. It doesn't change the amount of time I take necessarily. If I can sell it to one person for $60 and the exact same thing for $40, well, I'd rather sell it for more. It's not hard to figure out. Why are prices of real estate and stocks falling? Because so many people are valuing their cash money more and their other things less, like stocks, like real estate. Why are prices of corn falling? Why are prices of coffee falling? Why are prices of cars falling? And art falling? And gold and silver and platinum and copper all falling? Because so many people are valuing their cash money more and other things less. So, whose advice should you take? Well, you tell me. Should you focus on the advice of people who have a significant shared interest in your actual results, like profit-sharing partners who make money and lose money with you, or the advice of anyone else? Do any of these folks actually make and lose money with you? Mass media, politicians, popular financial institutions, do they make and lose money in proportion to you? Like your realtor, do they have a vested interest in the long-term value to you of your real estate? No, they just get a commission off the purchase price, and that's it. They're done. Now, let's look at what a guy with a PhD in economics said, Dr. Paulson. This was in September 2005. When most seem bogged down or worrying about when the housing bubble is going to burst, or when oil prices are going to cause the consumer to capitulate or panic, investors should be focusing away from such issues toward the many positive things yet to occur. He's a salesperson. He's a salesperson, pretty good. He's still there 6 years later, right? He still works there. He's still the chief investment strategist. That might be amazing to you, unless you consider that his job is not to give valuable advice that benefits the customers of his employer. His job is to give advice that benefits his employer, that benefits himself. So in a separate video, I'll say more about what he wrote in 2005, September 2005, which I criticized in a December 2005 publication. I'll also detail what I recommend and what I recommend now and what I recommended back then. In brief, what I recommend now is that people who want valuable advice focus on the advice of people who have a significant shared interest in your actual results, like profit-sharing partners who make money and lose money with you.